Ladies and gentlemen, K Kim here. Welcome to the Daily Update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. Market is up about 1.4% on the S&P. It looks like we did have a monster day on the NASDAQ and the semiconductor. Dow is pretty much flat. Small caps continue to march higher with 2%. Transport is about 4.5% positive. Energy is finally kind of taking a little breather there with the 1.75% negative. Banks down about 1%. Biotech and the emerging market caught a bit today. Grayscale Bitcoin is up about 8%. Gold and silver is up a little bit. And looks like dollar's down and VIX is down about 5% there. So let's stick with the S&P 500 ETF Spider 65-minute chart here. So let's do a quick follow-up with what we talked about on the last night's update video. So I've emphasized the fact that the buyers desperately needed higher low. Remember, this is where we closed last night. And also, I've noted the fact that that short-term moving average, you can see here this light blue moving average coming down that has been acting as resistance all last week. Something changed on Friday. Once we saw that resistance turning sort of bullish right here, we made a move, came back down, and we closed just right on that short-term moving average last night. And today, when we came into the market gapped up about 1% or so. And again, buyers desperately needed that higher low. And we have that higher low as of today. Right? That's a low. That's a higher low. That's a high. That's a higher high. And so what we are cultivating and establishing an uptrend. Right? So how can we interpret this? Because we talked about how we're still in a downtrend with these lower highs here in the short term. So let's call this a micro term. Remember, market moves in fractals, right? So we talked about how we have that, we got that midterm uptrend with the higher lows in the midterm and higher highs here. And within that midterm, we got these short-term fluctuations, right? We got short-term fluctuations. That's what you were seeing here. And what we're seeing that within that short-term fluctuations, we're seeing that micro-term uptrend which been developed in the last couple of days of trading sessions, right? Low, high, higher high here. So we're uptrend in midterm, downtrend in the short term, uptrend in the micro term, right? So how should we interpret this going into tomorrow? Few things that I see here that we don't have any down gap, right? There's no down gap because all the down gaps been filled. And I think that's going to be favoring the buyers as the buyers make a move to the upside. Because when the gap is there, a lot of times the gap area acts as pretty strong resistance. There's no any down gaps. I don't see any down gaps here. But I do see an up gap that is still open as of today. I think if the bears cannot fill this gap, we're gonna see this thing breaking above it and then start cultivating higher lows and higher highs in that micro term. Ultimately, that's gonna turn into a short-term uptrend, right? Currently, we're just kind of right in this vicinity right here. You know what I mean? We're right on that, potentially that equal high level. We already got that low, higher low here. If we make another higher high, we break above 390-ish area and start cultivating higher high look using this peak and make higher high, I think that will be game over for the short term. As of today, as of now, we have lower highs here and lower lows. So I want to actually, because of what we saw today with that price action, because this gap is open as of now, because I don't see any down gaps here, though we are still right on the bound by the resistance as of today. We do have a subtle lower highs as of today. I want to label this market going into tomorrow, not quite bullish yet, but neutral with little hint of bullishness that could turn into full-on control, right? This is a dangerous area for sellers because this gap could do a lot of damage as long as this gap stays open. So what the bears want to do, if you're a seller here, bears want to come down and fill this gap and kill that momentum. And once that gap gets filled, we probably gonna find this, bounce and then continue to cultivate the lower highs. And that's how bears can get out of this mess. But if not, bulls gotten so much momentum here with this higher high and higher low in the last few days. Especially NASDAQ and semiconductor coming back up here. And we can see we're already seeing rotations occurring. Because just remember last week when we saw NASDAQ and semiconductors were getting hammered, we witnessed that Dow, like transport, energy, and the bank sector, they were deep green. Wherein the semis and the NASDAQs were getting hit. Today, NASDAQ and semis making a move, Dow, energy, and the banks, they're pretty much flat or negative. That tells us that this market is rebalancing itself, trying to prop itself up. We talked about this on the last night's update. This behavior is a good for a long-term view of this market, long-term outlook of this market. What we don't want to see if you're a long-term investor and if you're a long-term bull, we don't want to see every single sector, every single indices, they're all coming down together. This way, the market can stay up and be propped up. Isn't that crazy how quickly NASDAQ and SEMI made a move, and some of those sectors and indices that did really, really well in the last couple of weeks when SEMIs and NASDAQ was struggling, they're down and flat today. So they're taking turns so that the market can have this rotation, so that the lagging stocks can make its move, and the leaders can stay put and wait until the laggers to catch up. I talked about it on the last night's update that if you went long on Amazon back in July of 2020, your gain as of today is zero. Nothing. Right? No gain. But let's say you went long on American Express back in July. Your gain today is 100%. We got some buying pressures. The buyers have opened up here. And this gap will be the key ingredient. Buyers must protect this gap, and we're going back to new all-time highs. And the short-term trend will change back to uptrend, and buyers will go back. And to control this market, let's check out that oscillator here. So oscillators is actually crossing back down, but we're kind of in that mode where the market might be doing some kind of whipsawing action. This is actually better. It actually favors the buyers versus when this just curl right back down. You see that. So if I go use a price action here, when they cross right back down, you see how price comes right back down with it. But here, it looked like it's gonna cross up, right? And this, a lot of times when it occurs, this sign right here occurs when the buyers are adamant. They don't want to come back down. There's a little bit of strength. Again, it's not 100% signal, obviously. There's nothing 100% about it. But in conventional market, when you see a signal like this, similar to here, that means we're seeing the bulls getting a little bit more confidence, where you don't see this market just pulling right back down after it hit overbought. It can keep grinding higher. You see what I mean? Like right here, we just cross back down, price pulls back. We cross back down right here, price just comes right back down. Cross back down, you know what I'm saying? Price comes right back down. Here, it's staying up. So there's a little bit of strength there. But what the bulls need to do though, bulls need to kind of bring it up here, trying to hit that overbought level just like they did here. So going into tomorrow, I am neutral in this overall sense with hint of bullishness that could completely change this game if we can have this gap remains open, right? So it'll be interesting to see how this market is going to play out. Is this resistance going to damage this market for further decline, or is this gap with the higher lows in the micro term, that bullish pressure, the buying pressure we saw in the last couple days, are we going to prevail and finally bulls gonna take the control, bring it back up to new all-time highs, and get another leg higher in the coming days and weeks? We'll find out. Enjoy your evening and good luck trading tomorrow.